A new report on the situation in Fallujah, which we talked about just before, called Deformed Babies in Fallujah, Iraq, letter to the UN from 2009, claims that the US use of DU shells has led to a large increase in deformed babies and miscarriages after an attack in 2004. The letter, delivered to the UN General Assembly in New York on the 12th of October 2009, states that young women in Fallujah, Iraq are terrified of having children because of the increased number of babies born grotesquely deformed, with no heads, two heads, one eye in the forehead, scaly bodies, and lost limbs. In addition, it is to say that young children in Fallujah are born with serious cancer and leukemia. These deformities have, among other things, thoroughly been documented on TV documentaries on Sky UK on the 1st of September 2009 and in June 2008. Around 320 tons of DU were used in the ammunition fired from tanks and aircraft during the 1999 Gulf War, and the US and Britain also used DU in the Second Gulf War, as I just said. It is well known that the massive shock and nail attack on Baghdad at the beginning of the Iraq War involved thousands of rockets that had been hardened with DU. In all, more than 450 tons of DU ammunition were fired by the British and American forces during the invasion of Iraq in 1991 and 2003. According to several sources, there is around 100,000 tons of toxic waste left over in Iraq after the Gulf Wars. At least 40,000 tons is DU. This means radioactive and toxic legacy have been left behind for the population in Iraq, for future generations of Iraqis. While the soldiers are being asked to stay away from these deadly places, Iraqi children play unknowingly in radioactive dust, because nobody really cares to... Iraq doesn't have the money and the equipment, the power to do it. I mean, Iraq is still in ruins, and nobody else do it. So, and the US and Britain doesn't clean up after themselves. So. The US, the occupation forces, who have orders not to be near places where the bullets of DU were used, have not bothered to warn civilians of the dangers. The UN Environmental Programme requested just after the Gulf War that the health and the effects on the environment would have to be investigated as quickly as possible, but nothing has since been done. The burnt out radioactive tank wrecks and bombed out buildings are still there. According to experts in the German documentary from 2004, The Doctor, the DU and the Dying Children, which won the European Television Prize on the 21st Freiburg International Environmental Film Festival, Ecomedia 2004, the areas surrounding the city of Basra had a radioactive equivalent to 20 times the Earth's natural radioactive radiation after the First Gulf War. It has been shown that the radioactivity in the Gulf War areas is 20 to 100 times the normal background radiation, and the radioactivity in Baghdad is 1,000 to 1,900 times higher than it was before the outbreak of the last Gulf War in 2003. It is therefore highly likely that Bush, whatever it must take to win the war, includes a new Bush-Iraq War syndrome for the American soldiers in Iraq when they eventually return home, not to speak about the Iraqi population itself. It's not too late for Bush-Iraq War, but it's relevant in terms of the threats of war against Iran and elsewhere. Both Iraq and Afghanistan ask now for help and support, as there is disturbing increase in deformities and cancer in areas with high DU contamination. One atom bomb was dropped by the US on the city of Hiroshima. The other bomb on the city of Nagasaki 3 days later. About 170,000 to 250,000 people were killed immediately. It immediately shocked the world when the US condemned Iraq and other places with DU. It doesn't make headlines, even if the result in the end is much worse. Professor Kazuma Yagasaki, a scientist of the Yukos University of Okinawa, concluded in his speech at the Hamburg Uranium Weapons Conference of October 2003 that the amount of DU weapons the US is believed to have used in the First Gulf War is the radiological equivalent of 83,000 Nagasaki bombs. The 2003 Iraqi war equals to 250,000 Nagasaki bombs. And the last 5 US nuclear radiation wars, the Gulf War, the Balkan Wars, the Afghanistan War, and the new Iraq War, equals to the duration in 400,000 Nagasaki bombs. US and Britain have used hundreds of tons of radioactive DU munitions. At the same time, these two nations have done very little to clean up, but they are trying to be anyway seen as the kind of nuclear police, world police, which they are not. I mean, this is to blame. And you can say that the use of the weapons is forbidden by should be forbidden by the same part of the Geneva Convention that prohibits the use of weapons of mass destruction. Anyone that authorizes the use of such weapons can be subjected to international prosecution. It is important to investigate and decontaminate the uranium-polluted areas, ban the EU weapons, and prosecute those who have authorized the use of such weapons. I mean, we should never let people who have committed genocide be free. I mean, people are still not today recognizing the genocide of the Armenians. Even the Armenians has protested all the time, and they don't only protest against about Armenian genocide, but they're saying if they are not acknowledging our genocide, what about other people? I mean, the genocide cycle just repeats itself over and over again, no less in Iraq. Several individuals and organizations have gone to court against the US government because of its use of the EU weapons. Let us support their cause. We as human beings didn't manage to stop the war, but we are better prepared to stop other emerging conflicts in the future. So let us work together for a better world. Thank you.